Okay, when we were looking at the graphs of the sine, the purple one, how do we know? Starts at 0, 0. And the cosine, remember, starts up here. If you remember, we mentioned that if you took and backed this up, or meaning the sine, or even the cosine and moved it forward, that you get the same function, right? So in other words, the cosine, if you back it up pi over 2, then you simply get the sine. Well, we could actually use this new formula that we have to prove that. So let's see if we can do this. So I'm doing this one. So the cosine of pi over 2 minus theta. My formula says cosine, and it's a minus, so that becomes a plus, sine. All right, now the cosine of pi over 2, remember that's 90 degrees and it's the x value, so it didn't move, times cosine theta plus the sine of pi over 2, which would be 1 sine theta. And I think, as you will see, we get sine theta. So it's a very useful formula because we can even use it for proving what we've said graphically. And you could do the same thing as we're going to move on to the sine difference formulas now. Okay, so as you can see, a little difference here. So the sum formula is sine of the first angle, cosine of the second angle. These stay the same, plus, but then cosine sine. All right, so we're going to use these formulas. So once again, a lot of this is how do I know when to use these formulas? 7 pi over 12. I don't know about your unit circle, but it's not on my unit circle. So I try to figure out two values that are on my unit circle. How about 3 pi over 12 plus 4 pi over 12, right? Because if you add those, you get 7 pi over 12. And now I'm going to reduce these to pi over 4, and then plus pi over 3, which are both on the unit circle. So if I go back to that other slide with my formulas, this is a good time to point out you should keep your formula sheet in front of you, so that way you're kind of used to it, since you get to use it on the test where you know where everything's located. All right, so here I'm going to do sine of the first one, cosine of the second angle. Remember, we said the sine stays the same, plus sine of the second one, and then cosine of the first angle. All right, so away we go. So the sine of pi over 4, square roots of 2 over 2. The cosine of pi over 3, 1/2. The sine of pi over 3, square root of 3 over 2. And then the cosine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so as you're going to see, square root of 2 over 4 plus square root of 6 over 4, or 1/4 square roots of 2 plus square roots of 6. All right, using the formula. And I will mention, you might say, but hey, you flipped those because the formula says cosine sine. I just always use the same order because that's being multiplied, so the order doesn't matter. Okay, find the exact value for this madness. Well, if I look down here, sine, cosine, minus, it looks like this formula. So all I have to do then is write it in terms of that formula, which would be sine alpha, my first angle, minus beta, my second angle. And now I simply just get the sine of 60 degrees, which is the square root of 3 over 2. Moving right along. So if sine theta is 8 over 9, and theta is my angle, is in quadrant 2. Find exact values for each one of these. Well, I can find my cosine using my trig identities, meaning sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals what? 1. So I put in my 8/9 squared plus cosine squared theta equals 1. And I get 64/81 plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Now I chunk this to the other side, 1 minus 64/81. Certainly I need to get the same denominator. So 81/81 minus 64/81. And gives me cosine squared theta equals 17/81. And then finally I need to square root both sides. So I get the square root of 17/81, which is the same as the square root of 17/9. Now, when you square root plus or minus quadrant 2, the cosine, negative. So don't forget that negative sign. All right, so now from here, and I'll leave it up to you to finish this off, just simply use your formulas, and I'll give you the final answer if you work these out on your own. Let me get I shouldn't have to do everything for you, right? Yeah. So let's get another color here, and I'm just going to put these answers, so try working them out. If you have any questions, ask me. So this one, I ended up with 4 square roots of 3/9 minus square roots of 17/18, the square root. And this one, 4 square roots of 3/9 minus, what do you know, square root of 17/18. All right, so try those on your own, and we'll be back to look at the tangent sum and difference formula.